Well, we get it rolling on the Krueger Show Friday night, 8 o'clock, technically 8:04 on the West Coast, 11:04 on the East Coast. Hope everybody's having a great Friday, kicking off the weekend. It's been a phenomenal day here today. Live stream with Al Sacco earlier today, Brad Graham, one of my favorites. And we're back with Damon Bruce tonight, 8 o'clock, doing a little Krug-Bruce exchange here. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Also brought to you by New York Style Sausage Company and our brand new sponsor, Marin Auto Glass. Check them out on the bottom, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. What's up, D. Bruce? What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. How many phone numbers do you think you actually got memorized these days? I'm down to like 3 or 4 phone numbers. Like if you told me for $1,000, you need to call your wife, but you have to use a rotary phone to do it. I don't know if I even know my wife's number. I just touch her name in my iPhone, and that's how it is. So I'm very impressed that you know Marin Auto Glass's phone number. Your deep knowledge of your sponsors is impressive. Before we get going, Larry, can I just bring up one of my sponsors, not as a shameless plug, but hopefully some folks in San Francisco want to help out my friends at Uncle Boys. They're one of the sponsors of the Damon Bruce Show, and they had a break-in of their small family-owned San Francisco original restaurant there in the Inner Richmond, Balboa and 4th. Certainly not a place in San Francisco that is known for a lot of break-ins or crime. They were just, the bad victim of circumstance. Somebody took their register. Somebody did a little damage. And so any of your listeners craving a cheeseburger, especially those in San Francisco near the Inner Richmond, give a little business to Uncle Boys this weekend. I would really appreciate it, and I know they would too.
Yeah, I saw your tweet. I saw the video on Twitter. It's happening way too much. And restaurants, people think of, we're in this mode now where it's like, hey, anybody who has a business has money, or anybody who's, it's like corporate theft is all right, or stealing from businesses is all right. Just because it's like we've got this confusion because a overwhelmed or underfunded or whatever prosecutor in the city doesn't want to prosecute the crimes, that it just because nobody's being prosecuted, that it's not a crime. It's like, and you know what? It is a crime. Look, and people who run restaurants, the margins are really, really small. Well, and if somebody loses, $3,000-$4,000, and I think you said they took $2,500 out of the register and this and that, and they damaged the place. I mean, one, it's a major hit to their feeling of safety and security. That's one, but also it's a financial hit, and you hate to hear that, whether it's an individual or a business. So yeah, absolutely.
I don't even think they took the money out of the register. They took the register. That's how aggressive the person who broke in got when they figured out there really wasn't much to take. They wanted to make it worth their while. And again, they were able to open up the very next day. Thank goodness. No one was there. No one got hurt or anything like that. But yeah, it's hardly a victimless crime because, let me tell you, the folks at Uncle Boys are just folks like you and me. They're not rich people. This is not corporate America. They're not underwritten by the Cheesecake Factory. There aren't 700 locations. There's one store, and it's owned by a guy and his wife who met at USF. I mean, they're real San Franciscans who are trying to do business in the city that they love. So it's a shame that it happened, and it's up to us to make it right the best we can. We can't prosecute. We can't go ahead and lock anybody up at this particular time as what we can do. But what you can do is go and get a burger and some onion rings, and the lumpia is fantastic. So go ahead and burgers and lumpia. You'll be happy that you did it.
Yeah, check it out, and man, we feel bad for them for sure. David Muschek became a YouTube member of the Krug Show today. Thank you, David. I always give my YouTube members a slight clap there. Thank you very much.
Golf clap that.
A little
So
golf clap,
what
little golf clap.
what does membership entail? Do you get like a back rub from Larry twice a week or something?
You get some special content that other members, that non-members don't get,
Perks?
and little perks, little videos that we do. We're going to do more of it coming up here in the weeks and months ahead.
Nice.
But it's just another way to support the show. And of course, you can also go to the store on the Krug Show channel on YouTube and buy merchandise. We've got some brand new T-shirts available, including one that says, "You're effing lazy," which is a Bill Urbanic line. So it says the Krug Show on the front, and on the back it says, "You're effing lazy." So it's a great shirt. I think it sells for $35. What's that?
Nice message to just have out there in the world.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you to all of our subscribers. We're sitting here at 21,319 subscribers. We only started this channel in March of 2022, and it's August now of 2023, and we're sitting here at 21,319. So thank you to everybody who has supported this channel.
Well, look, man, you've told me an awful lot with a little bit of growth that we've had. I'm a few away. Look, a few of your listeners decide to subscribe to Damon Bruce Plus tonight. I'll be at 6,900. We'll get there. We're approaching 7,000, and
That's very good.
No, you constantly tell me that you're proud of me, man. I'm so proud of you and what you've done and what you've accomplished. I know how hard you've worked for all of it. You've done an incredible job. I really mean it, man. Like NFL Network level job of covering training camp. I don't think anyone does a better job than you. You know that, and I'm not saying that for any other reason than I really believe it in my heart. You know your product, you know that team, you know the locker room, and more importantly, you can tell they know and respect you. So you get great stuff, Larry, and you deserve all the success that's coming your way as much as anyone I've ever met. You went out on your own, just like me. You got screwed out of a job you were really, really good at. You didn't spend any time crying in your milk. You just forged right ahead, and look at what you've accomplished. You gave me the exact same advice, and look at what we're starting to accomplish over here. So thank you for all your support of me, and boy, am I proud of you, man. You've really done an incredible job.
Dude, I'm proud of you as well. I mean, I know this is probably sickening for the audience to hear, but the bottom line is we were guys making hundreds of thousands of dollars on the radio, and radio has shrunk, and the radio is under attack, and their revenues are under attack, and their ratings are under attack, and it's a shrinking medium, and we adapted. There's that scene from Moneyball where Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt, says, "Hey, look, adapt or die."
Yeah,
adapt or die. And the best advice I got, Damon, was from my good friend, high school buddy, and co-entrepreneur Al Madrigal, who's a comedian and very, very successful now. He's in movies and that kind of thing. And I talked to him right after KMBR said, "You know what? We're going to downsize you." And I said, "Al, this is what's going on with me. What advice do you have?" And he said, "Well, what I wouldn't do is sit around and perfect the story of how I got laid off, or perfect the story of how I got fired, or perfect the story of what happened, what went wrong with radio. And just don't spend any time, thinking about that, and spend all your time and energy thinking about how you adapt, what you want to do, how you get your message out there, how you survive." And so I mean, it was great advice. So I didn't have that was like the first day, so that I didn't have any time to sit there and play the woe is me game, and then I just picked up and kept going, and now here we are. I would say that 21,000 subs is probably approaching what the radio station, sports radio Cume, is in the Bay Area. I bet you right now we have as many people in our sub base as they have in their Cume base, which is, and anybody knows Cume means the total number of people listening. It's probably very, very similar, and mine's going up and theirs is going down. So, whatever. I'll say this too. It's also been a great thing to spend more time doing, I haven't missed any of my kids' baseball games this year. I've been a very active participant in the lives of my children in the last year. I'm not away taping something or doing something, or I've got to drive into the city for a show. If my kid's playing varsity baseball, and I don't want to stream during his game, guess what? I don't stream during his game. And I get both, right? I get to watch my kid's game and make a decent living. So anyway, thanks to everybody who has supported the channel. Thanks to you as well. And I'm inspired by what you're doing, man. I mean, everybody does it a little different, right? We're all in the same space, but we have different attributes, different strengths, different weaknesses. I know you shouted out Jillian, your lovely bride, as somebody who's been a key contributor for you. It always takes some. Nobody does it alone, right? I've got my son Kevin, who's helped me quite a bit. I've had my tech guy Len Dempsey. I've got sponsors. You have sponsors. Ike from Ike Sandwich Shop and the people from Black and Whiskey, and you've got nobody does it alone, right? So exactly. So
and you know what you get a Friday night bottle pull. That's what you've earned it.
Yes.
Here's to 20.
Throw one back.
Here's to 20,000 into 20,000 more. Cheers.
There you go. D. Bruce taking a shot of whiskey in the middle of the Krug show. But no, this has been a ton of fun. And the greatest thing is you don't have to worry about the producer booking you a guest you don't like, because there is no such thing as a guest you don't like. You don't have to worry about a program director saying, you know what, I would have done this. You don't have to worry about that guy because you're that guy too. So it does remind me though when I was on working for Sports Byline and I was doing a little tour of radio stations, and I went to a radio station WIBR in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I walked in and I hit the buzzer for the door. And the guy let me in. And I said, I'm Larry Krueger. I'm here with Sports Byline. I want to meet the general manager. He walked into another room. He came back out, and he's like, I'm the general manager. I'm like, you know what? Great. Oh, I didn't realize you were answering the door. And I'm like, well, I'd also love to meet the program director. He's like, well, guess what? I'm the program director as well. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'd love to meet one of your show hosts, maybe the morning show host. He's like, well, I host a morning show. I'm like, well, then I'm talking to the right guy, So that was funny. That was my glimpse into small time radio. All right, let's talk a little bit about people losing their minds because of Brock Purdy interceptions in Vegas the last couple days against the Raiders. Brock Purdy is the Niners' #1 quarterback. Kyle Shanahan has called him the real deal. Unless something changes dramatically, it sounds like Brock Purdy may not play at all in the preseason and is likely the Week 1 starter at quarterback for the 49ers when they're at Heinz Field Week 1 against the Steelers. He had an interception rate a year ago of 2.4%. This summer in practices, his interception rate is 4.5%. Trey Lance's is 2.1%. Sam Darnold's is 1.1%. I don't have Brandon Allen's. But it's an interesting situation because Purdy had the elbow surgery. Shanahan says he's back, that he's the real deal, that he's back to full health. Purdy, though, admitted that as far as the volume of throws, the velocity on the throws, the touch, everything, that he's still a work in progress. He's working his way back. To me, that's to be expected. What's interesting here is what the two different avenues we appear to be going down. The Trey Lance fans are so adamant that Brock is either not good, what he did last year is not sustainable, or that he should not be starting despite what Shanahan has said. And they're pointing to these turnovers the last couple days as evidence that, you know what, he's not the same guy as he was a year ago and shouldn't be starting, or at least should be competing. Then you have guys who have gone on record, like Mike Florio, who went on the Rich Eisen show and said that the Niners made a horrible mistake by drafting Trey Lance and that they should move on from that horrible mistake. Florio said that they would trade Lance if somebody blows them away with an offer. Okay, that was Florio a couple days ago. Then Steve Mariucci, who just sat down with Kyle Shanahan on the NFL Network set a few days back, went on with Rich Eisen. And Eisen kind of was like, hey, you talked to Shanahan. What's the real story here about, the 49er quarterback thing? And Mariucci said, they may end up trading Trey Lance. He's been hurt, and you got to be available. And then Mariucci said they're not going to play Purdy at all in the preseason. And then he said, my guess is if Lance plays well in the preseason, I think there are teams that liked him in the draft, and those teams will offer picks to the 49ers, and the 49ers will trade Trey Lance. So now you've got basically two guys saying, hey, if Trey Lance plays well starting Sunday in Vegas, that's not going to get him the starting job. It's not even going to win him the number 2 job. It's almost as if somebody has said to them, Brock's the number 1 guy, Sam Darnold's the number 2 guy, and Trey Lance, if he plays poorly, will be the number 3 guy. But if Trey Lance plays well, other teams will come knocking in a trade, and the 49ers will pull the trigger and trade him somewhere else. And I'm just picturing this, and I'm thinking there is going to be a YouTube/internet implosion by the Lance fans if he indeed balls out against the Raiders and in the 3 preseason games, and they trade him and give the job to Brock Purdy and reconfirm to Purdy, recommit, and have Darnold as the 2 and Brandon Allen as the 3. You're a little bit removed from this, but very much in the market. So you're not necessarily at practice every day, but you're on Twitter and you see all the dialogue and hear all the calls, and this is a hot button issue. This is probably the biggest sports topic in the Bay Area right now. What is going to happen? Purdy, Lance, Darnold, Allen. Give me your perspective, Damon. You're a smart guy. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you think?
I'll give you my official answer. Maybe. That's it.
Very succinct.
That's it.
Maybe. He's a very succinct man.
One big maybe. Maybe that happens. Maybe he balls out. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's Brock. Maybe we are in a state of maybe, and we won't even come close to getting a conclusion or an answer until we get into week 1. And Kyle Shanahan knows more than every single content creator on the fucking planet added together. So I really don't care. I am tired of a fan base that is trying to do a Grant Cohn impersonation where they just act like every single football practice they went to is the first football practice they've ever seen. And they're going to use whatever they saw as not only the starting point, but the finishing point of how they've thought about the entire topic. I cannot stress enough. And look, I say this to you after I said you did a great job covering training camp. There isn't a minuscule iota of your training camp coverage, God bless you, Larry, that's going to matter when the curtain goes up on week 1. This is football practice. That's what it is. It's football practice. Do you know how many times Dan Marino threw 4 interceptions in a football practice?
No.
No one does, because no one covered football practice back then.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's football practice. That's it. It's football practice. If you're going to get upset about football practice and try to delineate the entire quarterbacking lineage that somebody might have from one session of a joint practice with another team, you are the dumbest contributor to the conversation that we could possibly have tuned into. And I'm not saying it's you, but it is ridiculous. It just shows you what a bunch of dull, boring, uninteresting lives you all live, where you got to try to pluck interesting out of something that officially is not interesting. Larry, you know why you don't see me at training camp very often?
Why is that?
Cover fucking practice. I don't give a shit. I don't care about practice, and no one should care about practice. It's like caring about. It's like hearing a band.
Well, I mean, watching it is one thing, but I mean, watching it is one thing. It's, to me, it's like, hey, I enjoy watching football, so I enjoy watching practice, and I worked for a football team, so I get something out of practice. But I'm totally with you. To me, the one thing that just drives me crazy, and I found myself doing it, is practice stats. Practice means something. Practice stats mean nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, no, look, and there's a guy here named James Wilson who says, let me guess, this guy thinks Purdy's the real deal. Brock Purdy's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, or anyone else I've seen throwing a football in the Kyle Shanahan era. And if you watched, If you paid attention to game day and you walked away concluding anything else, you don't know what you're looking at. This guy's, I want a Super Bowl, asshole. No one cares what you want. What you want does not matter at all. I want a Super Bowl. You sound like a 6-year-old saying, I want a candy bar. Shut up.
Only one team wins the Super Bowl.
Shut
They've been
up.
in the NFC Championship game in 3 of the last 4 years, and people want to put Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat.
Dude, the amount of morons who have been let in the room because we no longer live in a world where program directors and general managers and newspaper editors control the gateway. Any flippin' idiot can turn on YouTube and pretend that they cover a team, and why teams continue to hand out credentials to people who have over and over and over again proven themselves overreactive. There's no reporting going on. There's only performance. We have content creators trying to outperform each other, and it's pathetic. It's not coverage. It's not journalism. There's no fact behind it. And if the Niners do win it all, you'll be the first up licking the balls of everyone associated with it, including the quarterback and the coach that you said don't know what they're doing, don't know what they're doing. It's ridiculous. Remember, Andy Reid sucked. Oh, right up until he won a Super Bowl, and then everyone was like, oh, he's really good at this. If you didn't know he was really good at that before that, you don't know what you're looking at. You're watching uniforms and colors on Sunday, and you might as well be clapping on the couch for bright-colored commercials as well, because that's entertaining to you. I mean, for a sport that is as massively consumed as football is, there is no bigger dip between wearing my passion on the sleeve and actually understanding what's going on than in the common modern American football fan. It's
totally true.
Embarrassing.
I know. It is embarrassing. It's like, I watched every game, thus I know.
I want a Super Bowl. 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 Shut up.
Easy Merc Z says, this dude is awesome.
By the way, look at my adorably cute can of Canada Dry.
You either have Shaq O'Neal hands or that's a very small can.
It's a very small can. This is like a little 8-ouncer. My wife decides we don't get 12-ounce cans of soda anymore. Just
no. Are you kidding me? Yeah. You need a smaller can. I've given up soda altogether, man. I you know how much I used to drink Coke and all the time. I was constantly drinking Coke. I'm simply a water man now myself.
It's a good thing to do. Look, I would have grabbed a water, but I didn't want to be any more late than I was than joining you. So I just ran to the, no
soda in this house, and all the soda I get, basically said, you know what, that's it. No more soda. I'm going straight water. I've done it for about a month. And I feel good. It's like, water is obviously a lot better for you than soda. I was drinking a lot of calories. It wasn't a good thing.
It's actually a 16-ounce can. I'm a monster.
He's got a massive hand. Damon can he's like Connie Hawkins. He's just got huge hands.
Palming 11-pound bowling balls.
I'm Larry Krueger. He's James Worthy, and welcome to the Krug Show. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I love the content creators. I love them. Grant helped me when I was at my lowest point. I got nothing but respect for Grant. We don't necessarily agree on quarterbacks. On this year's on the Niner quarterbacks, because I think Purdy's really, really good. I really do.
Well, that's the thing. I think Purdy's really good too. And here's the thing. Even if we didn't, it doesn't matter what we think, because we don't know anything about the language of football the way that Kyle Shanahan speaks it. And if you are a 49er fan, if you're wired in any other mode than in Kyle you trust, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. I mean,
he's one of the NFL's better coaches.
Fabulous coach. He is a fabulous head coach. And the quarterback room that you keep on complaining about is the only reason why you have such high expectations, because the rest of this roster is crackerjack everywhere. And you can't, let's say that the quarterbacking room was absolutely crackerjack, and then the rest of the team wasn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. You'd be complaining about that too. No one understands how to talk about sports anymore. You and I were talking just on my show the other day, and you brought up, the person who was doing an update during the middle of your show, and everyone lost. No
right.
one won. There is no victory. There's no victory in sports. It's just loser, loser, failure, 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 lost, failure, loser. It's ridiculous. And if that's the way you want to approach games, I mean, I guess that's up to you. But if that's the way you're going to handle practice too, like literally the one space in athletics where mistakes are allowed to happen and be learned from, if you're going to try to report on a training camp interception as if it's equal weight to a third quarter NFC title game interception, you should have your mouth stapled shut. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it.
Well, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example.
Practice.
Derek Carr threw no picks last year in the preseason. He led the NFL in interceptions in the regular season. None in the preseason. So, I mean, and we're talking about preseason. Now we're not even talking preseason. We're losing our minds over joint practices.
Right. Not even a preseason game.
Not a game.
The practice Thursday before the game.
Right.
And it just shows you that there's way too much time in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to say it, Larry. And again, I will be covering games this year. If you're interested in 49er games, you're going to love my channel because we cover games and we don't waste our time with
not practice
calisthenics.
Well, I mean, you can glean things out of practice. Is a guy in shape? Generally, is a player accurate or not? But as far as, you know, what we're actually seeing, it's all secondary to the games. It's all secondary to the games. I just think people need to relax. They need to relax. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Brock Purdy went undefeated in the regular season last year off the bench as a rookie and had incredible stats. Brock Purdy won 2 playoff games, and I think he's like the third rookie in 50 years to do that. He's had some turnover problems in these practices in early August. If he's not the best quarterback, guess what? He won't play. He's going to get the first crack, but guess what? If Trey Lance plays awesome, it'll be Trey Lance's job. And if Sam Darnold plays awesome, it will be Sam Darnold's job.
Larry,
so
the only thing wrong
it's a meritocracy.
The only thing wrong with Brock Purdy is that he was the last pick in the draft. If Brock Purdy were billed to every single 49er fan as you traded 3 first-round picks to acquire him, you'd have people breaking their necks blowing Brock Purdy every single day of the week. But because he came from a place you don't think success can come from, you want to belittle it and you want to say, no, the place where success, I think, is supposed to be guaranteed to come from, you know, all the draft capital that they gave up from Trey Lance. Dude, Trey Lance, look, we're going to have a really interesting preseason game because there's no more interesting unknown backup quarterback in this league than Trey Lance. I'm very excited to be at Allegiant Stadium this Sunday, watching him play. That's really good. But the game doesn't mean a thing. So it's better him out there playing than your starting quarterback out there playing. And Brock's the starting quarterback. And it's insane. It's insane the amount of attention that has been given to this by people. And I'm not talking to listeners or the callers or the sports talk radio listeners. I'm talking about the hosts and the people who supposedly are smart enough to control the narrative. The way that they have just let this narrative out of a cage and run roughshod means you need a better quality host in your life. And that's what you and I are here to represent. And that's what we're here to give people. Stop listening to buffoons who want to sell you the importance of an August 11th practice. I cannot be any more specific than that. I can't, there's nothing else I can say on the topic. I don't care. Brock Purdy can throw nothing but incomplete passes between now and then. And if he goes 18 to 22 in game 1, what will any of it matter? None.
Well, and it all, come on. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's had doubters the entire time. Came off the bench in week 1. He beat Miami. What did people say? Yeah, but you know what? Next week, Tampa will adjust to him. The next week, he beat Tampa and Tom Brady in his first start, blew him out. Then it was like, you know, well, can he win in Seattle? Then he went on a broken rib, didn't practice all week, beat Seattle in Seattle. Okay, well, you know what? Can he do it against a good defensive line? Then he beat the Commanders and he smoked them pretty good. Then it was like, well, can he come from behind in the fourth quarter? Then he was down 10 points in the fourth quarter against the Raiders and they came from behind and beat them. Then it was like, you know what? That's the regular season. Can he do it in the playoffs? Can he beat a team twice? Then he had his best game against Seattle and the Niners won. Then it was like, well, can he beat Dallas? Then he beat Dallas. And it was like, all these things. He basically did almost everything he was asked to do. He got knocked out of the Philly game. You have guys on the Niners like Deebo Samuel who have maintained publicly they have such belief in Brock Purdy and the job that he did that they believe that if Brock didn't go down, that they would have beaten the Eagles. So that's what kind of belief. To me, that got played as a big, like, Deebo's talking big and Deebo. That was a statement about Purdy. That was a statement about Deebo's thoughts and confidence in Purdy. He's like, hey, if we didn't lose Purdy, we would have beaten the Eagles in Philly. And he didn't say it because he was trying to boast. He didn't say it because he was running away from anything. He said it because he believed it. He believed it.
You can't fool NFL players, man. You can't fool NFL players, and the NFL players don't try to sell any illusion, especially at the position of quarterback.
Right.
The fact that the team was all in on Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why he was their starting quarterback for so many years, because he had that locker room's trust and confidence. Brock Purdy has that team's locker room trust and confidence. I don't know if Trey Lance ever really did. They're going to give it a go, but it was an experiment that sadly for Trey, it's very unfortunate. His ankle broke, and that gave an opportunity to a guy who immediately jumped on that opportunity, and he didn't just seize it after Jimmy went down. You had someone excel instantly from a draft position that you don't ever get that out of. And I think that maybe is a starting point that nobody wanted for their quarterback of choice. You think it's got to be, Joe Montana out of Notre Dame or somebody with some real gusto and a resume and all that. Niners fans are historically insane when it comes to the quarterback position, and they have not cloaked themselves in glory over the last few years. Now, it has been difficult to see who's coming and going, and it is frustrating at times for sure. But the Niners are really, really good at what they do. Brock Purdy's really good at what he does. Nobody in this league might be better at what they do than what Kyle Shanahan is. And as long as that triangle of truth is linking up together, that's all you need. That's it. Everyone wants to think that they're hosting their own show, that they have a take that if I just use the right words to explain my level of frustration, maybe I can get a lot of retweets. Maybe I can go viral. Maybe I can get a little attention off this hot take. If your hot take is based in practice, there's nothing hot about it in the first place. Nothing matters until game day in football. Nothing. That's it. Game. There are 17 games. They're the only days of the football year that matter, unless you're lucky enough to qualify through those 17 days only. No team has ever had a great record and been held out of the postseason because of bad practices.
And as the old saying, the moral advantages of losing have been greatly exaggerated. You either win or you don't. Absolutely. The old coach used to say it. It's the way you play, the day you play, and everything else don't mean shit. You can sit there and talk it up all you want, and guess what? There was teams that dominate in the preseason and get their ass kicked in the regular season. There's teams that don't win at all in the preseason and dominate in the regular season.
You have a commenter named Maurice, and he says, Brock, he better be good. There is no excuse. That's first thing. There's no excuse. Come on. Have you ever?
By the way, remixes, Damon, could you put your volume up a little bit? Maybe
it's better for you. Is this better for you? Does it sound a little bit better?
Yeah, just put it up a little bit.
Bump it up a little right there for you. But he says these practices will have meant everything. The only thing I can tell you is that Mike Singletary was 5-0 in the preseason. 5-0.
Right.
Mike Singletary was undefeated one year in the preseason. He might be measurably one of the single worst head coaches the NFL's ever seen. And he was undefeated in the preseason. So I can tell you right now, the 49ers could lose all 3 of their 3 preseason games, and it doesn't matter. Nothing matters until week 1. And there is no bigger reset for the league where all of a sudden the lights go on, the curtain goes up, the starters go in, and now we're playing football. And so everyone needs to take a breath. It just shows you how much people love the league. They're so invested in it that they've actually started caring about practice. It's like evaluating how good someone is at their job by the route they take in their morning commute. Why do you care how they get to work?
Right.
All that matters is what happens at work. And work only matters in football on game day.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, I wasn't one of those people losing my mind when Jimmy threw a bunch of picks in training camp, and I'm not losing my mind over Brock throwing a bunch of picks in training camp. And, the assumption, I guess, is that Trey Lance would be better or Sam Darnold would be better, though I don't get the feeling that Sam Darnold really has a fan base, where I do get the feeling that Trey Lance does. But, I mean, Lance and Darnold both threw picks today. And if you look at the number of passes that these guys threw each, I mean, I think Lance threw like 2, and I think Darnold threw 3 in the team period, and both these guys in the 7-on-7s threw picks. So who's to say? Brock Purdy, I think, had 28 passes or whatever it was. It was a ridiculous number of passes. If Darnold threw 28 passes, maybe he would have had 3 picks. If Lance threw 28 passes, maybe he would have had 3 picks. So I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I can't speak firsthand on it. I will say this. Not every interception is the same as every other interception. Sometimes you're getting – I'll give you an example. Brock Purdy threw an interception last year. It was 4th down. They were going for it. It was a pass play. He was being blitzed, and he just kind of lofted it up down the sideline, and it got picked. It was the equivalent of a punt. Well, that's a totally different interception than a 1st down, 2nd down situation where you throw it right to a linebacker you didn't see.
Swing pass.
And yet they're both interceptions,
right?
Right? They're equal interceptions, but they're not really equal. So context means an awful lot, and I think that's one thing. The other thing is, it's like, you know what? I'm a Niner backer. I want to see the Niners do well. If Brock Purdy is not as good this year as last year and Trey Lance is awesome, then Trey Lance will be the guy. And I'm fine with that. And if Trey Lance is not the guy and Brock Purdy's not the guy and Sam Darnold looks as good in the preseason and going forward as he looked at times in practice this summer, then guess what? Sam Darnold's the guy. And I'm all right with that. But I think if you're a lot of these people that are pushing back so hard on Brock, they're not all right with Sam Darnold being the quarterback. They're not all right with Brock Purdy being the quarterback. They're only all right if Trey is the quarterback. And that's reality. I'm convinced of that.
Their opinion couldn't matter less to the process or the result. Okay? How you feel about something is totally irrelevant. Well, I love the Niners so much. That's why I care. You die tomorrow. The season starts the same day, the same time. You're irrelevant. And I love fans. I do. Fans are great. Fans are really super, some of them. But a lot of them tend to be annoying as hell, a whole bunch of blowhards who think their ability to care about something or the amount of jerseys that they have in their closet like adds credence to their opinion. It doesn't. It doesn't matter what you and I think about it, Larry. You and I don't try to sell our opinion as the only correct way to approach anything. You and I, when we do go to practice, we see something, we come back, we tell everyone what we saw. We don't try to explain what it's then going to mean in the grand scheme of things. And that's the difference between being seasoned and experienced or treating every single practice like it's the first time you ever saw live football with your own 2 eyes. And there's just way too many people who react to every day as if it was their first day. I mean, how many times can you lose your virginity? For goodness sakes. It's ridiculous. It really is.
And
ridiculous.
How much credence are you going to put into an August practice? I mean, seriously, how much credence are you going to put into it? And then, you get people. I mean, there's one in here. Where is it? He's a huge Lance guy, and he's just all over the chat. Where is it? I can't even find it here. Oh, here we go. So here we go. 49er daddy's a big Lance guy. Purdy's not that guy. Won't be the same since the injury. I mean, that's sad.
Don't know that.
But 49er daddy, you're wishing that on him. I mean, it's clear as day. You're wishing that he's not the same. And that is kind of sad, really. I mean, I understand, you want your guy to be in there and you feel like Trey's your guy, but I mean, come on. I mean, it's here we go. Here's another one from 49er. All these Purdy boys making excuses for Purdy. LOL. Why waste QB1 reps on practices on Purdy? Kyle Shanahan says he's the number one quarterback and he's the real deal.
Did 49ers daddy pick up on the fact that the guy he's saying can't play is the greatest winning percentage in the history of the franchise?
That the guy who he says can't play also averaged 4 points a game more than Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs last year?
Right. Brock Purdy, the next time he loses a football game in the regular season will be the first. If that still qualifies as not good enough for you, you're the type of person who shouldn't be allowed in the conversation because you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I can't say it any more plainly. And that, some people are like, this dude is audience repellent. He's talking about us. Yes, I am talking about the dumbest among you. And you know who you are. You prove it on a near daily basis. I cannot tolerate those who think their opinion trumps a guy who's yet to lose a game.
Or that August practices mean more than 2 playoff wins for a rookie.
It's insane.
So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Well, it's sad. The whole thing's sad because I'm a Niner fan and I'm cool with literally I'm the guy who pounded the table on KMBR leading into the draft going, Trey Lance, not Mac Jones. Trey Lance, not Justin Fields. Trey Lance. So in a lot of ways, I feel somewhat vindicated if Trey Lance becomes great. But then along came Brock Purdy, and Purdy's played incredibly well. And he can process, and he's accurate, and the ball comes out on time. And guess what? They won games, and they scored 33 points a game. And until he proves that he can't be that guy, I'm riding with that. But if Trey Lance shows up tomorrow, Sunday in the preseason, and he looks like Mahomes, then I'm on to Trey Lance. I'm not in the. I know I told you guys that Brock Purdy was going to be good before Brock Purdy was good, so I'm synonymous with Brock Purdy. But you know what? I'm a big Trey Lance fan. Now I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I really don't, and I haven't seen anything that makes me change my mind. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of skeptical on Sam. I have huge hope for Trey, but it's more long term. I don't have as much. I have belief that Brock is the best quarterback they have in the present. That he is their best chance to win. So that's how I feel. And I as far as the people losing their mind, it's
you got a guy here, Larry. Again, you control. Big Dez says, "I love my Niners, but why the heck are we all of a sudden downplaying the joint practices when the head coach said that they are that important?" The reason why they're important to Kyle Shanahan is because he can control the scenario he wants worked through.
Right.
That's why they're important to Kyle Shanahan. If Kyle Shanahan wants to spend the next half hour on the 15-yard line, working 15 yards and into the goal, he wants just to work on red zone for 45 straight minutes, he doesn't have to go through all the machinations of a football game to get to those moments. That's why they're valuable. They're valuable because he controls the scenario.
That's exactly what. Right. I asked Kyle this question. This is not like, hey, you know what happens from my players in this scenario is defining and means more than regular season games from last year or playoff games from last year. It's if I have a joint practice, we can practice goal line when I say we're doing goal line. We can practice red zone when I say we want to do red zone. If I feel like my team needs a 3rd and 10 drill, I can line them up and 3rd down and say it's 3rd and 10. He, as Damon just said, controls the scenario. It's not about who does the best in these practices. It's about he wants to be able to play situational football and practice the things that he feels they need practice doing. That's the reason. So don't confuse the two. But I hear you, Big Des. Let's hit some super chats because we got a bunch here that I want to get to. Michael Alanis says, Larry, why is it so hard for you to digest the drafting? That drafting Lance was indeed a mistake. The 49ers are making it clear he was by him competing for the number 2 job in year 3. Where have you heard of this? Well, Michael, I hear what you're saying, and I would my reply to that would be they drafted the most raw, inexperienced quarterback in 40 years in the first round. No quarterback in the last 40 years went in the first round that threw as few passes as Trey Lance did at North Dakota State. Then you mix in the fact that it's North Dakota State, so it's the FCS level, which is, I don't want to say glorified high school, but it's hardly the SEC. And you've got a player. Then you mix in the pandemic and the 1-game season where he only played Central Arkansas. Then you mix in the redshirt year where, he got drafted to a championship caliber team. They decided to go with Jimmy his rookie year. Then he gets a season lost because of injury. And now here we are. So to me, if Trey Lance had struggled or sucked for 3 years, it'd be one thing. That's not the case, is it? He was an unbelievably raw prospect who, because he's unbelievably raw, is going to take an unprecedented amount of time to develop. But I'm over here saying, I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. Who in the room thinks Trey Lance is going to be a franchise quarterback? I do. Larry Krueger thinks he's going to be a franchise quarterback. I just think that it's going to take time. And I really believe that he's going to get there. Why? Because he's smart enough, he's athletic enough, and football's important to him. And it's the family business in the Lance family. So if the average quarterback takes a year or two, maybe this guy's going to take 3 or 4. What nobody ever talks about, Aaron Rodgers played full career at Cal in the Pac-12. Sat for 4 years and then went 6-10. Joe Montana went 3-6 in his first 9 games. Steve Young didn't become the Niners starting quarterback till he was 31.
I wish Warren Moon could have seen Peyton Manning's rookie year.
He had 28 picks his rookie year.
I was at Indiana, and Colts games were on every single television, and I was a Ryan Leaf guy. I'm like, that's who they should draft. And obviously I got that one wrong. But man, Peyton Manning in his rookie year looked so bad. If anyone in a 49er uniform had the rookie year that Peyton Manning had, you'd all be jumping off beautiful orange bridges. And then after you jumped off that beautiful orange bridge, you would have missed one of the greatest Hall of Fame careers ever rolled out by any quarterback of all time. There is no instant level of success beyond Patrick
It's very
Mahomes.
Very rare. Roethlisberger. There's a few exceptions. Very few, though.
Patrick Mahomes has so re-scrambled everyone's idea of what is normal. They think that is the new normal. That is not the new normal. What Patrick Mahomes will be, when it's all said and done, is one of the 10 greatest players any position football has ever seen. I mean, that's the trajectory that he's on right now. It's going to be like Patrick Mahomes, Walter Payton, Lawrence Taylor. Like, he's in that rarefied air.
He's the exception, not the rule. The rule, Steve Young wasn't good until he was 31 in the NFL. If you said to me, make a comparison between Trey Lance and somebody, I'll give you one. Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a great prospect. He was smart, he was athletic, and football meant a lot to him. What's Trey Lance? He's smart, he's athletic, and football means a lot to him. Alex Smith, guys, did not become a good NFL quarterback till Jim Harbaugh arrived. That was his 8th year in the NFL. It takes time. So I'm not in the category saying trade Trey Lance, because I believe Trey Lance is going to get there, and if you trade him, you're going to look bad. But I'm also not in the camp that says forget Brock Purdy and start Trey Lance, because I think Trey Lance has got more growth to come. Now, the question is, how does he develop? That's another question. There is no minor league system, but I think we've already seen him get dramatically better from last year to this year. And if that trend continues, I would say he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback, in the not that distant future. That's what I believe. Now, everybody's got a different belief. I believe Trey's a franchise quarterback. 49er fan LA says, third live of the day, Larry? Larry, you're not lazy. Brock Purdy, Super Bowl MVP 2023.
Well, that's what that means. It would have taken me a while to decipher that. Okay.
Well, I looked at it extensively. Jan Evander Balin says, remember when Brock was terrible in camp last year, then takes us to the playoffs. A lot of BCB is QB1. Hammer and Krug are the real deal. He's talking about Jack Hammer.
By the way, Jan Evander, what a great name.
That's I know.
A spectacular name.
Can I say this, though? I mean, there were people who know a lot about the Niners, who have been beat writers for the Niners for decades, or at least a decade, who literally the day of the cutdown were utterly convinced to the point they were wagering with me, because I put out on Twitter like the day before the cutdown. The cutdown was on like a Saturday. On the Friday practice, Damon, I put out on Twitter, Brock Purdy is a lock to make this roster. I had a Niner beat writer come up to me. I won't name him because I'm not trying to in any way embarrass him in any way. He came up to no, it wasn't Mayoka. He came up to me and he said, and it pissed me off, Damon. Why? Because he waited till after practice was over. And in the Friday practice before the cutdown, Sudfeld took all the reps. Brock Purdy was on the sideline. And I was pissed. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. The Niners watched Brock Purdy do what he did in the preseason, and they're going to cut him for this donkey, Sudfeld? No way. No way. Well, this writer waited till the practice started and finished, saw that Brock Purdy got no reps, came up to me at that point, even though he saw me before the practice, and said, really? Brock Purdy's a lock to be on the roster? And I looked at him and I said, yeah. He's a lock. To be a lock? I'm like, yeah, a lock. He's like, well, you saw he got no reps here. I'm like, I don't care. He's a lock. We shook hands, bet $1. Sure enough, they buy out Sudfeld. They put Purdy on the roster. You listen to Shanahan, he's like, oh, yeah, once we saw him in the preseason, we were for sure taking him. So I saw it exactly the same way he did. And this guy is a smart guy who has been covering the team a long time. And yet he was convinced that Sudfeld was going to beat out Purdy. And he had watched them both all summer, and he had watched all of the preseason games. So all I got to say is, you know what? A lot of times you can go, if you're really just reading the tea leaves for what they're telling you all the time, then if you're going to wait for the Niners to come out and say, we're going to trade Trey Lance, they're not going to say that. Right. One day they're going to trade him or not, but if they do, they're not going to announce it ahead of time. So, you got to do more. You got to use your own head and watch this thing and have some knowledge of what you're watching. And then you've got some true perspective. But that made me laugh. I said, oh, he's a lock? And the guy thought he was gonna win one on me. And I'm like, no, dude, he's a lock to make the roster. And Tim Ryan and I talked about it after the first preseason game. The way Brock worked the play clock down to like 1 second in that first preseason game, that was the kind of move a veteran quarterback does, not a rookie in his first preseason game. None of these rookies are doing that this year. That showed a layer of competitiveness and focus and veteranness that only a guy who's got real ability for the position does in his first preseason start. Glass half full guy says, thank you, Larry, for calling out Florio. How can he say anything about the 49ers when he's never there? He's sanctimonious and arrogant too. Florio, it was, all I'll say about Florio is it is arrogant. It's like, well, the fans don't know what we know, Rich. What? You're not even at practice. You haven't seen Trey Lance improve. You've decided he's bad after 4 games. He's not bad. He's getting better. And so this idea that the Niners have to trade Trey Lance, and then it's a huge, colossal mistake, I would push back on your premise and your conclusion. I don't think your premise is right. I don't think your conclusion is right.
There's no reason to be trading anyone right now.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing. Look, it's football. Anyone could get hurt on any play. The guy that you expect to be a starter at any position might not play this year after the very next snap. So there's no reason to go throwing out any baby with the bathwater right now. You don't need to do anything until you need to do something. Everything is business as usual until things become unusual. Nothing's become unusual yet. Honestly, a need somewhere else for Trey Lance would probably create a greater market than any amount of accomplishment Trey Lance could ever have in a preseason game in terms of, lighting up the radar of now, everyone's talking about him. It will be a need that creates an opportunity to trade for him, maybe even more than what he does. So there are so many moving pieces. It's all connected, and everyone, again, August 11th to August 11th, we have not even played the first of 3 preseason games, none of which matter. Sure, you'd like some quality production, but then you could easily dismiss any quality production. Well, the other team didn't have their starters in, and we didn't have our starters in, so what does it really matter? Exactly.
I don't want to advocate drug use, but some of these people need to pop a gummy or two. You know what I mean? I mean, just, relax, bro. It's August 11th.
That's a legal drug. It's like a pack.
Damon's like, what do you mean? Willie Mendoza says, did the Niners activate Purdy to see where he was physically? Can it be that they were testing him? And if so, can they put him back in the PUP list? They cannot put him back in the PUP list without having him be out for, I believe, 6 weeks.
8? Yes,
you can start. I think it's 6. You can start on the PUP, and then you can be pulled off at any point. But if you don't start on the PUP, then once you go on, I think you're out till week 6.
Yes.
Vincent Talley says, Lombardi also brought up a good point today that Derek Carr had no interceptions in practice last year and then had the most interceptions in the season. Yeah, I did mention that, and that is interesting. 49er Daddy, he says, you never played sports, you practice how you play.
No, not at the professional level at all. That is some high school stuff. That is true. And I did play high school football. And by the way, 49ers Daddy, don't pretend you played in the NFL, because you didn't either. Practice means less to the pros than any level, especially in the NFL. It really does. It's game day. Game day is what matters. This is what you play like you practice. Yeah, and like on JV, sure. This is these guys.
I've heard the saying, but I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Zachary Kelway says, I blame Grant for all the Brock hate. All his fans listen to him, hate on Shanahan, and they then breastfeed Trey Lance all day. Then they come over here.
I guess my question is,
I've got great respect for Grant. He's built an industry. He's the king of YouTube. He's got 70,000 subs and tremendous influence. But we don't always agree, he's not looking to agree with me. I'm not looking to agree with him, but I do respect him, and he's helped me immeasurably, and I got nothing bad to say about him. So anybody who wants to come on here and try to, run him down, that doesn't, win favor with me. I understand the person who's loudest gets the most attention, and he gets a lot of attention, and I get it, and that's totally fine. But you know what? To me, I agree with him sometimes. I think sometimes he's right. I think sometimes he's wrong. If his stance is that Brock's not good enough, then I think he's wrong. If his stance is that Shanahan's not good enough, then I think he's wrong. If his stance is that Lynch is not good enough, then I think he's wrong. But, there's plenty of things I agree with Grant about all the time. So, and I think he's a smart guy. Go ahead, Damon.
No, I really don't care. I don't care about his opinion of this team. And to me, it comes from the exact same shelf where we store our Skip Bayless. It's just, it's disposable noise. What do you like, I guess would be my question. What about this team do you like? You keep on insisting they're a Super Bowl ready team, but you just bash the men who built it, the guy who coached it, the quarterbacks who quarterback it. So what element of the team do you like? And then again,
well, I would go this far. I'd go further and say, hey, look, if Shanahan's garbage and Lynch is bad at his job and Brock is just lucky, it's amazing they got all the way to the NFC Championship game last year. I mean, how did they do it?
These guys are dumb, stupid, lucky over and over again.
These guys are amazingly good. They're amazingly bad, yet effective.
Yeah.
Velo says our opinions don't matter. I think he meant OUR, but our opinions don't matter to the outcome of the team's destiny, but we are all allowed to have one. Absolutely. Fans pay your bills by listening to your opinion. Just saying, simple as that. Fans are allowed to write or to.
That's with a W. If you're saying to write like that,
I'm not sure what he meant there, but
I don't know.
I hear we're not saying that fans are not allowed their opinions. We're just saying that.
No, here's the thing: to present your opinion as a matter of fact, that's where I have problems with. To couch it all in, I don't like because of me, and this is the way I see it. But to draw a direct line between this is how I feel and this is the way it will be, that's the ridiculous part. You always have to leave yourself plenty of wiggle room to be totally 100% wrong about that. And there are too many people. Look at it this way. What would happen if Trey Lance were to really, really get a shot because Brock Purdy tomorrow is involved in a terrible lunch accident where he gets scalding hot soup spilled all over him, and he is in the hospital for the rest of the football season recovering from his third-degree soup burns? Trey Lance is now your starting quarterback. Trey Lance sucks out loud. Then what? Then what? Will you admit at any point in time that, geez, everything I told you about this guy is to be the next preordained greatest of everything? I was wrong about that? No, they'll just immediately brush it off and go on to the next. I'm bitching about this now.
Well, it's I've already, here's the thing about it. I've already seen it. If Trey is good, it's Trey did this in spite of the 49ers and Shanahan. Him and Christensen did this. If Trey isn't good, it's the Niners mismanaged Trey Lance. I mean, I've already kind of seen the way this is going to go. And as far as your opinion and people's opinion, everybody's entitled to an opinion. To me, it's not about do you have an opinion. It's how well do you support your opinion. Can you support your opinions with facts and reason and logic that make sense? You're entitled to an opinion, but your opinion is as valid as your ability to support it, in my opinion. AMD 127 says, isn't Larry making instant reactions after every practice? A lot of content creators are doing that. This guy is a joke. Fans want to know what's happening in practice. What's the big deal?
Or you offer instant reactions. You don't offer instant conclusions.
Right.
That's what drives me nuts. To react to something that you saw is one thing. To try to draw a direct line between what you saw and the conclusion that will define that player going forward, that to me is ridiculous.
And also in my instant reactions, what's understood, and if it's not understood, let me make this perfectly understandable for everybody. There's a lot of my opinions in there. So I'm giving you my instant reaction. My instant reaction includes facts and opinions. I do feel I've got a trained eye for it. But you know what? You can decide that I don't know what I'm talking about, or you can decide that I do. And that's fine either way. And I get it. And I'm not trying to say, and neither of us are trying to say, we've been doing this a long time. Neither of us are trying to say that people are not allowed their opinions. They absolutely are. Damon knows it. I know it. We're all allowed our opinions. It's just it comes down to how well do you support your opinions? Do you get fatalistic? If you're illogical, if a guy throws 3 interceptions on a hot day in Vegas against a second string defense on a joint practice, okay, take it for what it is. It's the turnovers are the turnovers. I'm not trying to run from it. It's not good. There's no world where turnovers are good, but it's not defining, and it's not a sentence, and it shouldn't supersede 5 straight wins in the regular season, 2 wins in the playoffs, having the best quarterback rating in the game, scoring 33 points a game. Those things still must take precedent over August 10th and 11th interceptions, I would say. Now, if those things continue and August 10th and 11th become the way it's going into the preseason, regular season, then we all adjust.
Right.
The one thing all of our opinions are always evolving.
If all you do is have bad practices, that's not good. But one bad practice does not define a player or a career or in anything. And this 49ers daddy guys, this Damon is a clown. You prepare and practice how you want to play. I played D1, and even the pros say that. Nick Bosa is yet to report to training camp. Let's say he shows up 15 minutes before game 1. You playing him or not? I'm playing him. I mean, that's the thing. Nick Bosa doesn't need any practice to go out there and just whoop ass. So some guys, yeah, they need their reps. They need their practice. Other guys, it doesn't matter nearly as much. They say that you play like you practice. That's to get to know the playbook. Once you got work, once you know how to ride a bike, practicing how to ride a bike isn't that important. It just isn't. These guys know what they're doing. They're playing football 365 days a year in some sort of way. It's, again, I don't cover practice. I don't cover practice. I cover games because games are what matters. Nobody's ever gotten to the Super Bowl because they were a first-team all-practice American. It just doesn't matter. You had a great week of practices, and then on Sunday, the game went funny, sideways, and you lose.
Well, I mean, it's like baseball spring training. The Giants had a guy in the 80s, like early 80s. His name was Randy Elliott. The guy hit 660 in the Cactus League. Right. He was so good in the Cactus League, Damon, they started him in left field on opening day. He dropped a fly ball on opening day, hit 065 for the first 3-4 weeks. They farmed him out, never to be heard from again. So, I mean, spring training doesn't mean a whole lot. Preseason doesn't mean a whole lot. But we'll leave it at there. We're an hour and 6 minutes in. I told you we'd only go an hour. Damon, I'm going to let you go right here. Good stuff. We'll talk Giants and Warriors another time.
Oh, we're not talking nepotism?
We'll get to it another time because it will be the nepotism on the Warriors will be equally compelling a week from now. So, but I always love rapping with you, man. Give your sponsors a shout out before you jump out of here.
Well, hey, thank you. How about this? Here's what I want to give a shout out to. Your audience, Larry, has put me over 6,900 subscribers. I was hoping to get to 69 here on the show, and sure enough, your audience came through for me. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And again, if you want to watch all of Larry, subscribe because he's certainly a welcome guest on my channel. Brought to you by Ike's Sandwiches, Uncle Boys, which, boy, if you're in the inner Richmond, if you're in San Francisco, after their break-in this week, if you could give them a little of your business, they're going to give you back a delicious cheeseburger, great onion rings, really good lumpia if you want to go in that direction too. The store is owned by Filipinos, so they know what they're doing in the lumpia department. And of course, Blackened Whiskey. And you know what, Larry? This show has been so good. You get one more. You get another pull. You get one more, brother.
Nice.
That's you. That's to your audience members, even the morons out there. Thank you very much.
D. Bruce in the house. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Always good to see you, brother. Thank you so very much.
Take care. The great Damon Bruce. Russell J says, can't say Mahomes is the exception, not the rule, and reference Bosa to prove a practical point. Okay. I hear you, Russell. I hear you. Thank you for the super. That's kind of the beauty of Damon is that he's gonna give you his opinions. He's got strong opinions. You can like him, you can hate him, you can be mad, but he's good at what he does. And I've known him since the mid-'90s. We're longtime friends, and we'll continue to build each other's channels up over time. And I'm proud of what he's doing at his channel, and proud to have him as a guest on this channel. All right, let's do this. Let's thank our sponsor, and then we'll have our couple final thoughts, and then we'll bolt for the door on this Friday night on the Krug Show. But first, let's throw a little love to our title sponsor. We are brought to you by, of course, three sponsors: MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030, New York Style Sausage Company, and Pig and a Pickle. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Here's what their spot in Marin County looks like.
with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, welcome back to the Krug Show. Thanks to everybody for joining the chat. Thanks to Damon for stopping by. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 a.m., the coach is going to be in the house, and the coach is fired up to talk quarterbacks after Brock did not throw or did throw some interceptions in Vegas, and he'll have a bunch of things that he wants to get to tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Also, that's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Check that out tomorrow morning on the Krug Show. Then Sunday, I should say, is game day, and we'll be on after the game, 4 o'clock. We'll go live immediately after the game. My son, Bay Area baller, maybe the coach, maybe a couple other people in the house too. So we'll do a gigantic post game after the Niners-Raiders and give you a chance. Maybe we'll even do some video calls and give you guys a chance to kind of have your say. I do want to do a video, a Krug phone. In fact, we got this from Digital Jew. Krug phone after the coach. I'm thinking so. Maybe we'll go coach like 9 to 10, and then at 10, maybe I'll open up the Krug phone and we'll do some calls tomorrow. Eager to do that. And then on also we're going to trying to catch up with Ryan Sakamoto, who's one of my favorite guys as well. He covers the Raiders, and he does a great job doing it. He's the Raiders beat writer, Pro Football Writer Association of America member, works for CBS Sports Radio, does a bunch of things. So we'll try to catch up with him tomorrow as well. And then on Sunday, we'll do the post-game show. And then Monday, JT the Brick's going to stop by. I'll probably join Grant on his channel as well on Monday. But definitely JT the Brick on Monday night, right around 7 o'clock. We'll talk a little Niners-Raiders with JT. Russell J says, Grant is the first to say, I was wrong about X player all the time. Yeah, no, Grant's a good guy. Grant and I get along good. I got great appreciation for Grant. Russell J says, not mad, zero feelings towards Damon. Opinions are fun, but don't throw shade at Grant Cohn when they are very similar with saying how they feel. Yeah, I mean, you know, Damon can say what Damon wants to say. I don't think he was really attacking Grant in any way, to be honest. I think he's just kind of pushing back on the absurdity of drawing massive conclusions off of, you know, August practices. It was not directed towards Grant. I mean, I pretty much know that. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to all you guys. Have a great Friday night. Check out Dan Coach Emilio on NorCal Sports Network after the Giants game tonight. Maybe I'll jump in with him. I'm watching Giants Rangers right now on Apple Plus, and wow, shocking. It's the 8th inning, and the Giants have no runs and 2 hits. 2 lousy singles. One from Jock Peterson, one from Patrick Bailey. Shocking. Shocking. The Giants have no offense. Their pitching looks good. They went with an opener tonight and Scott Alexander. Stripling gave them 5 solid. They've gone to Walker, Rogers. But here we are, bottom of the 8th inning. They're down to their last, 5 outs. And they have 2 singles and no runs. Who could have ever envisioned that the Giants' offense would not be good? Man. Russell J says, appreciate you, Larry. I sub to Damon as well. And then Russell J says he called him Skip Bayless. Yeah, well, that's not good. That's not good. But once again, I can't control things that my guests say. But I'm a big fan of Grant. I'll say this. You know, I don't think I would be doing this on YouTube if it wasn't for Grant and his guidance and his encouragement and his support. So I got nothing but love for Grant. I see him all the time at practice. We talk all the time. I consider him a friend for life. I hope he considers me the same. And if Damon wants to call him Skip Bayless, that's on Damon. It's not on me. And also, I'm a big fan of not just Grant. I'm a big fan of Grant's dad. We're going to have him on the show. So, what can I say? There we go. We got this one from Mo. Larry, the realest coverage guy on YouTube for Niners, Warriors, and Giants. Dusty Gold says, I found you, Larry, through Grant. Exactly. Grant's helped me immeasurably. I'm sitting here with almost approaching 22,000 subs. There wouldn't be 22,000 subs on the Krug show without Grant Cohn. So got nothing but true love and appreciation for Grant. Daniel Brennan says, love you, Krug. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you, brother. Mitchell and Ness says, Krug and Papa Cohn will be interesting. Yeah, oh yeah. It'll be fantastic. MF says, love the show, Larry. Thank you, MF. Let's go, Giants. Get a hit. Get a freaking hit. All right. That's going to do it. I may jump over with Danny in the post game on his channel. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But check me out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The coach will be in the house. I'm expecting close to 1,000 people for that show. And then Digital Drew says, any chance to get G-Rad on the stream? I talked to G-Rad about a month ago, and we agreed that we're going to get together in September and chat, and I would love to have him on. I love Gary, and he's meant a lot to me, to my career, and he means a lot to me as a person. Love him a lot. He's doing well. He's got his kids. He's doing what he said he was going to do. He's taking care of his family, spending time with his wife, enjoying life after KMBR. And I love that guy. Senior Softball Game says, great show, Larry. No arguing that you are building something special over here. I take pride in knowing I was the first guy you banned. I did ban some people, but every time I ban people, my son goes back and unbans them. So there you go. Dusty Gold says, Gary would be a massive show, Larry. Oh, God. Are you kidding me? It'd be incredible. I'd love to do a regular hit with Gary. I wish I could find if you know of a sponsor that wants to sponsor the Gary Radnich once a week segment on the Krug show, contact me. I will gladly go to him and say, Gary, this sponsor is paying this for you to come on. Will you do it? I'll cut you the check every week. He doesn't need the money, but I'd love to go to him and tell him. Because how great would Gary be every Monday after a Niner game on the Krug show, breaking it down? It'd be incredible. He's awesome. Great live, Larry. Need a weekly spot with you both. Yeah, me and Damon will be doing a weekly as well. We'll get those going. Dusty Gold says, maybe Bentley could be the sponsor. Digital Drew says, Radnich and Krug brought to you by Mortal Kombat 1. Yeah, I mean, anybody who knows of a sponsor who wants to pony up what it would probably take for Gary to join me every week, I'll give them all the money. We can just, they'd be incredible. I think it would be absolutely awesome. I think the Bay Area would want it. Green Glass Full Guy says, did you hear Grant Cohn's head blew up today? It says, ban him cool? I don't know what that means, but I watched his videos today. He did seem a little fired up. He was definitely a little fired up. But that's why Grant's Grant, and he's great at what he does. Absolutely great at what he does. All right, that's going to do it for us. Have a great night, everybody. Tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the coach. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly